Hello, students. Welcome to today's lecture of NCERT Chapter 7, that is Redox Reactions. So, this is the theory part 3, in which we are going to cover the NCERT section number 7.3. So, this is the disclaimer as you can see on your screen. The learning objective for today's lecture. So, after attending this lecture, you will be able to understand the concept of oxidation numbers and learn the rules for assigning them to different elements in the compound. So what we can conclude after this lecture, we can easily or we will be able to understand the concept of oxidation number, and we will also know the different rules in a sequence manner to find out the oxidation number for the different elements that are present in a chemical reaction. Moving ahead, we can also identify the oxidizing agents and the reducing agents, which are in short written as oxidants and reductants in a chemical reaction. Now, how can we identify the oxidant and reductant? We will be identifying them on the basis of the change in the oxidation number of the react species present in the reactant and in the product. So the change in their oxidation number will define or will directly influence their oxidizing and reducing nature. We will also learn to use the stock notations for representing different oxidation states of metals in a compound. Like, how can you write the oxidation state for the tip metal like iron, zinc in a compound? Like iron do exist in +2 and in +3 in different compounds. So how will you mention that in their respective compound? So that will be learned in this lecture. The topics that we are going to cover, the first one is 7.3, that is oxidation number. Then we will do a problem that is 7.3 and 7.4. And then we will conclude this in a summary. So now let's start today's lecture with the oxidation number. That what do we understand by oxidation number? So we can define it in a manner that oxidation number shows the charge of an atom in a compound. Like if you consider a compound in a chemical reaction, you will find that there would be in the atoms that are present in the compound, and those atoms shows some charge, and that charge is considered to be the oxidation number. So if we consider the oxidation number and we relate it with the oxidation reduction, you will find that if you find a species with increase in the oxidation number on going from reactant to product, you will mention it or you will consider it as an oxidized one. While if you find that there is decrease in the oxidation number of any chemical species from the reactant in the product, that means that particular species has been reduced. That means that product, that particular reaction is considered as the reduction one. So we can understand it by the help of different examples. Like how can we understand about the oxidation number by relating it with their oxidation and reduction. Like as we've already understand about different examples, and in that we have concluded that the electron transfer do takes place in between the reactants so that the final reaction take place. Like if you consider the reaction, that is H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O. So if you look over to this NCERT equation 7.21 and their oxidation state, you will find out that in the final balanced chemical equation, the oxidation state or the oxidation number for H2 is 0, while the oxidation number for O2 is 0. And when you look at the product, you will find out that in water, that is in H2O, the oxidation number of hydrogen is +1, while that of oxygen is -2. So, in this, electron transfer is realized when hydrogen do combines with the oxygen to form the water. But if we visualize the hydrogen atom as going from a 0, that means a neutral state, to H2, that means in which it has a positive +1 state, while the atom goes from a 0 state to O2 to a di-negative state in H2O. So here we assume that there is complete electron transfer, or there is an electron transfer from hydrogen to oxygen takes place. That means we can say that consequently the hydrogen is oxidized while the oxygen is reduced. We can also understand it by the lines that I have mentioned above, that if you look at the oxidation number of hydrogen, you will find out that from 0 to +1 there is an increase, while from 0 to -2 there is a decrease. Hence, the increase in oxidation number, that means there is oxidation, that means hydrogen is oxidized, while the decrease in oxidation number, that means reduction. However, we can also understand it in a manner, or we have concluded by the charge, we can conclude it by the charge also, that the charge transfer is only partial and is perhaps better described as an electron shift rather than a complete loss of transfer by hydrogen and gain by oxygen. So, if we look at the another reaction, that is H2 plus Cl2 gives 2HCl, which is NCERT equation 7.22. So here what you will find, that there is the compound, that is HCl, in which you can find out that hydrogen has an oxidation number of 0 in H2 and is converted to +1 oxidation state in product. That means there is increase in oxidation number, which means oxidation has taken place. While if you look at the Cl2, there is 0 to -1, which means that the chlorine from 0 to -1, that means there is a decrease in the oxidation number, which means it has gained the electrons, and hence it can be considered as the reduction. Hence, oxidation reductions both are taking place simultaneously in both the reactions. Therefore, both these are the redox reactions. While if you look over the third reaction, that is the NCERT equation 7.23, you will find out that the methane, that is CH4, is reacting with Cl2, forming carbon tetrachloride, that is CCl4, plus HCl, that is hydrogen chloride. So in this, you will find out that the oxidation number of chlorine in the reactant is 0, while in the product it is -1. While if you look at the carbon, there is -4, while in the product it is +4. So what we are observing here? We are observing here that in this particular case, that is in CH4 plus 4Cl2 gives CCl4 plus HCl, you will find out that the oxidation number has changed. Now, there is an important point, that is, if we are considering the oxidation number in any reaction, or we are considering the change in the oxidation number in the chemical reactions, we always assume that there is complete transfer of electrons from a less electronegative atom to a more electronegative atom. So in this equation also, if we write the charge on each of the atom, you will find out that there is the complete transfer of electron from a less electronegative element, that is from carbon to the more electronegative element, that is to the Cl2, and hence it can be considered as the redox reaction. So I hope the oxidation number in terms of increase and decrease for the oxidation and reduction respectively is clear to you. Now, how can we assign the oxidation number to any chemical species? How we are making that? How we are finding that this particular compound has an oxidation number of 0? So there are typical rules to assign the oxidation number. So first of all, the oxidation number denotes the oxidation state of an element in a compound as ascertained according to a set of rules that are formulated on the basis of the electron pair, on the basis of that electron pair in a covalent bond belongs entirely to more electronegative element. This we have also understood by the examples that I have studied before. So now, there are different rules. So there is rule 1. So for the calculation of oxidation number, the rule 1 is that oxidation number of an atom in its elemental form is 0. So what does the elemental form mean here? That means in elements, that means in the free or the uncombined state. Means the uncombined state, each atom bears an oxidation number of 0. Like if we look over its example, the example would be like H2, O2, Cl2, O3 and various other would have the oxidation number of 0. They all have an oxidation number of 0. While coming to the rule 2, that is the oxidation number of a monoatomic ion is equal to its charge. That means if we consider the ions, that means for ions which are composed of only one atom, that means monoatomic, the oxidation number is equal to the charge on the ion. That means the charge will always be that one as that particular ion do have. Thus, if you consider like sodium, so if sodium is present in Na plus 1, that means Na plus ion, so it has an oxidation number of plus 1. If you consider Mg2 positive, that means Mg2 positive has an oxidation number of plus 2. Like aluminium, like Al3 positive, so it would have an oxidation number of plus 3. And if we also look over to the alkaline metals, so the alkaline metals have the oxidation number of plus 1, while all the alkaline earth metals have an oxidation number of plus 2. And as I've already told you that if you consider the example of aluminium, so aluminium will always have the oxidation number of plus 3 in all the compounds that are found by it, or we can say it in simple manner that it would have an oxidation number of plus 3 in all its compound. Now the rule 3. The rule 3 states that the oxidation number of oxygen is usually minus 2. That the oxidation number of oxygen is usually minus 2. Now here we can find out there is something different, because we have came across to many different compounds in which the oxidation of state or oxidation number of oxygen do vary. It does not have usually minus 2 oxidation state. But here the rule says that. So how can we understand it? We can understand it by the help of some example. Like the oxidation number of oxygen is usually minus 2 except in peroxides, in superoxides, and when it is bonded to a highly electronegative element like that is chlorine. So now let's understand these 3 exceptions in a detailed manner. So first of all, I have said that the oxidation number of oxygen is usually -2. However, there are different kinds of exceptions. Like the first one arises in the case of peroxides and the second one in the case of superoxides. So the compounds of oxygen in which the oxygen is directly linked with, in which the oxygen atoms are directly linked to each other, that are considered as peroxides, while in peroxides, like that is H2O2 and Na2O2, like H2O2 and also Na2O2, each oxygen atom is assigned with what? Is assigned with oxidation number of -1. While if we consider the superoxides, so the compounds, that means in superoxide compounds, the oxidation number of oxygen is -1. The example of superoxide is KO2, in which you can clearly see here the oxygen has an oxidation number of -1. There is one more example like RbO2. So in these examples of superoxides, each oxygen atom is assigned an oxidation number of -1/2. They do have assigned the oxidation number of -1/2. Okay, so this is -1/2. Like when bonded to fluorine. Like, so now if you look over the oxidation number of oxygen when it is bonded to fluorine, you will find out that it will have an oxidation number of +1 or +2. So now, how will you find out that? So if you look over the example of O2F2 and OF2, if you look over the example of oxygen difluoride, that is OF2, and dioxygen difluoride, that is O2F2, the oxidation number in them are +2 and +1 respectively. So the number assigned to oxygen, the oxidation number that is assigned to oxygen will depend on the bonding state of oxygen, but this number will now be a positive figure only. So I hope this is clear to you that what would be the oxidation number of oxygen in peroxide, superoxides, or when it is bonded to fluorine. So the conclusion for this particular important point is that the oxidation number of oxygen will always depend on the bonding state of oxygen. Now let's move ahead and look over the fourth rule. The fourth rule is that the oxidation number of hydrogen is +1 except when bonded to metals. Except when bonded to metals. So how can we understand it? We can understand it in a manner like if you look over the hydrogen, when it is bonded to metals in binary compounds. Binary compounds means that the compounds containing two elements, that the compounds containing only two elements. Like if you consider the example of lithium hydride, sodium hydride, calcium hydride, you will find out always that the hydrogen will have an oxidation number of -1. Now the rule 5, that the oxidation number of fluorine is always -1. Why? Because it is highly electronegative element. So if in all its compound, the fluorine has an oxidation number of -1, while the other halogens like chlorine, bromine and iodine also have an oxidation number of -1 when they occur as halide ions in their compound. So, as I have already mentioned, that when they present in their halide form, the other halogens, that is chlorine, bromine and iodine, do have a general oxidation state of -1. While there is some exception, or we can understand it, there is an important note that halogens also show positive state in oxo acids and oxo anions. That is, if you consider that like the chlorine, bromine and iodine, when these three are typically combined with oxygen, for example, in oxoacids and oxoanions, they will have a positive oxidation number. So what I have said that the chlorine, bromine and iodine halogens show positive states in oxoacids and oxoanions. So specifically, the positive states that can be shown by them are +1, +3, +5 and +7. In these compounds, while fluorine exhibits only in the -1 oxidation state. This is because, why is this happening? This is happening only and only because of their tendency to accommodate the electron. Like if you consider the chlorine, bromine and iodine, so these are the particular three elements which can expand their octets to accommodate more bonding opportunities, unlike the fluorine one. Like if I given you an example of chlorine forming oxoacids. So this is like HOCl and ClO3 -3. So what you can conclude over here? You can conclude over here that in HOCl, that means hypochlorous acid, you will find out that chlorine has an oxidation state of +1. So I have already mentioned that halogens show positive states in oxoacids, but they generally have -1, but in oxoacids they show positive states. I hope this is clear to you. Now, if you also look at to various other examples like perchloroacids, that means HClO4, you will find out the oxidation state of chlorine to be +7. So I hope this the rule 5 is clear to you, that the halogen shows positive states in the oxoacids that can be from +1 to +7. Now the rule 6. The rule 6 says that the sum of the oxidation number of all atoms in a compound is equal to the charge on the ion. That means if you add the oxidation number of all the atoms that are present in a compound, like if you consider H2O, that means the sum of oxidation number of hydrogen and oxygen will equal to the charge that is present on the ion always. So this is also an important point, that if the algebraic sum of the oxidation number of all the atoms in a compound would be 0, would come out to be 0, while if you consider a polyatomic ion, please note what I am saying, that in polyatomic ion, the numbers of atoms of the ion must equal to the charge on the ion, Thus we can say that the sum of oxidation numbers of all the atoms in a compound is equals to the charge on the ion. Like, for example, if you consider water, as I was telling you, that in water, the elements or the atoms present are hydrogen and oxygen. So hydrogen are 2. That means the oxidation state of hydrogen, that is +1, would get multiplied by 2, while that is of oxygen, that is -2, and oxygen is only 1, that means -2 into 1. You will find out that the final oxidation or the sum of oxidation number would be the charge on ion, that means H2O has an overall charge of 0, and if we have calculated it by adding the oxidation number of all the atoms, it is concluded that it do have a charge of 0. Another example is CO3 -2. That means here you will find out that the charge is -2. So you will find out that if you add the oxidation numbers of all the atoms, that means carbon and oxygens, you will find out that this will come out to be -2. So +4 +3 into -2, that would be +4 -6. So +4 -6 is equals to -2. So I hope the rule 6 is also clear to you. So these particular 6 rules were enough to calculate the oxidation number for any compound that is present ahead you. You can easily find any oxidation number. You can easily find the oxidation number of any species in any chemical reaction that would be provided to you. Hence, we can say that by the application of these above rules, we can find out the oxidation number of the desired element in a molecule or in ion. It is also clear from these 6 rules that the metallic elements have positive oxidation number, while the non-metallic elements can have both the positive or negative oxidation numbers. So now let's go ahead to the trend of oxidation number across a period. That if you consider the periodic table and you consider the period, how the oxidation number varies. So here you can see there is group 1, 2, 13, 14, 15, 16 and 17 are mentioned over here, in which the elements and their compound are mentioned. Like if you consider the element sodium, magnesium and their compounds like NaCl, MgSO4 and so on. So you will find out their oxidation state. Like on moving across a period, that is from sodium to magnesium to aluminum, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur and then chlorine. We have taken their simplest compound like NaCl, magnesium sulfate, AlF3, SiCl4, P4O10, SF6 and HClO. Now, their highest oxidation state of the group element for NaCl or for Na is +1. For Mg is +2. For aluminium it is +3. For silicon it is +4. For phosphorus it is +5. For sulfur it is +6. While for chlorine it is +7. So what we can say that? We can say that in the given table, that you can clearly see the highest oxidation number of the representative element that like the sodium, magnesium, aluminum are mentioned. And what does this implies? Thus it implies that the highest value of oxidation number exhibited by an atom of an element generally increases across the period over a periodic table. That means here you can see that on going from left to right, you will find that the oxidation number is increasing. So what we can say that? We can say that in the third period also, which it is the third period, the highest value of oxidation number changes from +1 to +7 as indicated here in the table. So what we can conclude by it, we can say that interchangeably with the oxidation number, the term that we can use here directly, that is the oxidation state. What we can use here, now we can use the term oxidation state. So what are the applications of oxidation number? That the acidic strength is directly proportional to oxidation number. That means as the oxidation number increases, the acidic strength also increases. And the oxidation number is inversely proportional to the basic strength. That means as the basic strength increases, the oxidation number decreases. Or we can understand it by a manner that when the oxidation number is increasing, that means +2, +3, +4, +5, +7, the tendency to accept the electrons also is getting increased. While as they are already accepting the electrons, that means they do not have much electrons to lose. That means their basic strength automatically get decreased. Hence, it can be easily understood that the acidic strength is directly proportional to oxidation number, while basic strength is inversely related with oxidation number. So I hope this is clear to you. So now, the paradox of fractional oxidation number. So this is very important here. So if we consider the oxidation number, we have learnt rules even to understand or to calculate the oxidation number. Here arises the paradox of fractional oxidation number. Means that how can oxidation number be the fractional? In general, we never say it that the oxidation number are fractional. We never say it the oxidation number are fractional. But sometimes we do come across with certain compounds in which the oxidation number of a particular element in the compound is in fraction. So, the oxidation numbers in compounds that look like fractions are actually the average values of multiple whole numbers from different atoms. That means that that particular fraction is not the typical oxidation number for that atom. How is it being arised? It is arised as the average value of multiple whole number from different atoms. We will understand this line with the help of different examples that we are going to study. So now, first of all, let's take an example that is C3O2. That means in this example, what you will find out? In this example, what you will find out? The C3O2 is carbon suboxide. You will find out that in this, that is carbon suboxide C3O2, there are 3 carbons and 2 oxygens which are linked in this manner. So here in the structure of C3O2, you will find out that the middle carbon would have an oxidation state of 0, which is marked as star, while the adjacent carbon which are attached to this central carbon has an oxidation state of +2, and the oxygen has an oxidation state of -2. So what does this star marking here? The star atom shows a different oxidation state as compared to the other atom of the same element. That means if you look over to the element like carbon, you will find out that among these 3 carbon, 2 carbon has an oxidation state of +2, while the central one that is marked as star, the oxidation state for that one is 0. So how it is concluded? How it is concluded? As it is mentioned here, that is the average value. So now let's calculate the average value for this central carbon. So if we calculate the average oxidation state of carbon in C3O2 would be, as there are 3 carbon, that means C3O2 is equals to 0. So C3O2, we are calculating the carbon's oxidation state. That means 3x plus 2 and its oxidation state is -2. That means 2 into -2. That would be -4. So this would be 3x minus 4 is equals to 0. And you will find out that the average oxidation number for carbon is is equals to 4 by 3. Is equals to 4 by 3. While end oxidation states are +2 for the terminal carbons, which are marked by red color, and the middle carbon has an oxidation state of 0. Why? Because it bonds equally with carbon. Because the central carbon atom is bonded with this carbon atom and this carbon atom, and this do have an oxidation state. These two carbons have the same electronegativity. This is the reason that the middle carbon has an oxidation state of 0. Now, if we consider the paradox fractional oxidation number, we know that this fractional oxidation number is slightly unconvincing. Till now, by taking an example also, still we find out that it is somewhere unconvincing. Why? Why it is unconvincing to us? Because the electrons are never shared or transferred in fraction. because the electrons are never shared or transferred in any chemical reaction. Actually, this fractional oxidation number is the average oxidation state of the element. I have already told you it is the average oxidation state of an element under examination, and the structural parameters reveal that the element for whom the fractional oxidation number state is realized is present in different oxidation state. That means here we have calculated the average oxidation state for the carbon in C3O2. That means the oxidation state for carbon is 4/3. But that particular carbon in the structure do exist with different oxidation state as it is bonded with different atoms. Like the carbon which are bonded with oxygen atom has an oxidation state or number of +2, while the central one has the 0. Hence, it is concluded that the oxidation number in the compounds that look like fractions are actually the average values of the multiple whole numbers from different atoms. I hope this is clear to you. We will understand this fractional oxidation number by the help of 2 more examples so that our concept get cleared. In the next example, that is example 2, here you are given with an example of B3O8, that is tribromo octa oxide. So in tribromo octa oxide, you will find out that the bromine atom which is bonded with oxygen, as all the 3 are bonded with oxygen, but the bromine atom which are present or which are marked as red, which are bonded to 3 oxygen atoms, have an oxidation state of +6, while the central one, which is bonded with 2 oxygen atoms and 2 bromine atoms with double bond, has an oxidation state of +4. So the element which is marked with star, that means asterisks, this show different oxidation state as compared to the other atoms of the same element. So now again, what we will do? We will again calculate the average oxidation number of bromine here. So the formula is, what is the formula? The formula is B3O8. That means the average oxidation state of bromine would be 3x plus 8 multiplied by -2. That means -16. So this would be 3x plus -16, which is equals to 0. Then x would be here 16/3. Again, we have find out that the oxidation state for bromine is 16/3, which is the average oxidation state, but the bromine do exist in +6 and +4 in the compound. So, if we look over the compound, so the 2 bromine atoms which are at the terminal do have an oxidation state of +6, while the middle bromine has an oxidation state of +4. Why it is now having an oxidation state of +4? This is because this arises from its bonding to 2 bromine atoms. This arises from its bonding to 2 bromine atoms which does not have any electronegative difference, and 2 oxygen atoms, and these 2 oxygen atoms in between themselves only, they are also the same. That means they also do not have electronegative difference, but the bromine and oxygen has that electronegativity difference. This overall effect over the central bromine atom, and due to all this, the middle bromine atom has an oxidation state of +4. I hope this is clear to you. Now, the paradox of fractional oxidation number with example 3. So here, you can look over the example of tetrathionate ion. That means S4O6 2 negative. So the 2 negative charge here is, you can see on the terminal oxygen atom, there is negative charge. So it is S4O6 2 negative. So in this compound, again, you will find out that the average that is different from reality is again is in the same manner. The star atom are marked with the atoms that are marked with star shows the different oxidation state. So if we calculate the average oxidation state of sulfur in S4O6 2 negative, you will find out that 4x minus 12 is equals to minus 2. And when you calculate the value of x, you will find out to be 2.5. You will find out it to be 2.5. So we can say that if we look to the structure, that the atoms, that the two sulfur atoms which are marked with red in the structure, they do contain the positive oxidation state that is of +5, while the 2 middle sulfur atom has an oxidation state of 0. The 2 middle atom has an oxidation state of 0. Why? This is because these two sulfurs are attached to sulfur. These two sulfur atoms are only attached to the sulfur atoms, and there is no electronegativity difference among them. And hence, these has an oxidation state of 0. So what we can conclude now? We can conclude that the idea of fractional oxidation state should be taken with care, and in reality, it is only revealed by the help of structures only. Because if we look at the structure, we can easily find out that if there is electronegativity difference or not. If there is no electronegativity difference, then it is considered that generally they would have the 0 oxidation state. But if there is the electronegativity difference, then the oxidation state would vary. So I hope the paradox of fractional oxidation number is clear to you. Now the Stokes notation. That what are the Stokes notations and why we are using it? And how is Stokes notation helping us in writing the oxidation number? So the Stokes notations were developed by Alfred Stokes, that was a German chemist. So the oxidation number is always shown as a Roman numeral in the parenthesis after its symbol. The Stokes notations represent the oxidation number of a metal in a compound. That the typical oxidation number of a metal, like if we consider zinc, if it is existing in +2 oxidation state, so we will write 2 behind zinc in a Roman numeral. Let's take some examples and understand the Stokes notation. So if we look over the compound that is Aurous chloride, that is AuCl, auric chloride, that is AuCl3, stannous chloride, that is SnCl2, stannic chloride, that is SnCl4, mercurous chloride, that is Hg2Cl2, mercury chloride oxide, that is Hg2O. So now, if we look at the compound of Aurous chloride and auric chloride, here, if you find out the oxidation state, you will find out that in this there is +1 and +3 oxidation state of the metal. So we have written the oxidation state of these behind them in a Roman numeral manner. If you look over the stannous chloride and stannic chloride, so if we find out their oxidation state, that is of tin, you will find out in SnCl2, the oxidation state is +2, and in oxidation state in SnCl4 is +4. So we have mentioned 2 and 4 in a Roman numeral manner after the metal in the formula. And in the mercurous chloride and mercuric oxide, the mercury has an oxidation state of +1 and +2 respectively. And again, it is represented in the compound with the help of Roman numeral manner. So this is the Stokes notations which represent the oxidation number of a metal in a compound. So like if I give you a compound that is Sn2Cl2. So by looking at this, you can directly say that Ma'am, now the tin, that is Sn, in this compound has an oxidation number of +2. In this compound, the mercury has an oxidation number of +1. I hope this is clear to you. Moving ahead to the question in which you have to find the stock notations for the different compounds. So here you are provided with some time over here to find out the stock notations, and after that particular time, I shall provide you the correct answer. So now let's look at the solution. So here, if you look at the solution, that is first one, that is HAuCl4. So now let us assume that the oxidation number of Au is X, as we have to calculate the stock notation. We have to calculate the oxidation number and then represent them with the help of stock notation. The chlorine has an oxidation state of -1, while hydrogen has an oxidation state of +1. So in HAuCl4, for neutral compound, the X plus -4, this will be equals to -1, and then X minus 4 is equals to -1, and from here you can calculate the X to be +3. That means now the Au has a +3 oxidation number, so it can be represented as HAu3Cl4. Now in Tl2O, let us assume the oxidation number of Tl2O is X. So the oxidation state of oxygen is -2. Oxidation number is -2. For neutral compounds, 2x plus -2 equals to 0. So now here, we are assuming the oxidation number of Tl in Tl2O is to be x. So 2x plus -2 is equals to 0. So 2x minus 2 is equals to 0. Then x would be +1. Therefore, Tl2O can be represented as Tl2, that in brackets there is 1 written in Roman form, O. In the third case, the oxidation number of Fe in FeO is X. So here, the oxidation state of oxygen is -2. So for neutral compound, so X plus -2 is equals to 0. You will find out the X to be +2. So we can write it as that FeO can be represented as Fe2O. The 2 is in the Roman numeral. For the fourth compound, that is Fe2O3, we are assuming the oxidation number of Fe in Fe2O3 to be X. It has an oxidation state of -2. For neutral compound, this would be 2x plus -6 equals to 0. That means 2x minus 6 is equals to 0. That is x is equals to +3. Therefore, Fe2O3 can be represented as Fe23O3. The 3 that I have said right now is in the Roman numeral, that is Fe2. In the brackets, there is 3 in Roman numeral, then O3. Now for the fifth one, that is CuI, we are assuming the oxidation number of copper to be X. The iodine has an oxidation state of -1. Now for neutral compound, it is x plus minus 1 equals to 0 and x minus 1 to be 0. So x is equals to plus 1. Therefore, cupric iodide can be represented as Cu. In Roman numeral it is 1 and then I. Now the sixth one, that is copper oxide. So again assuming the oxidation number of copper to be x and oxidation state of oxygen to be minus 2, and solving for this compound we will find out the x to be plus 2, and hence the CuO can be represented as Cu. In brackets there is 2 written in Roman numeral and then oxygen. Now it is the seventh one, that is MnO. Here the oxidation number of Mn in MnO is x, and the oxygen has an oxidation state of minus 2. And for neutral compound, it would be x minus 2 is equals to 0. That would be x as plus 2. So now the MnO can be represented as Mn2O. Now the last one is MnO2, and let us assume the oxidation number of MnO2 in MnO2 to be x. The oxygen has an oxidation state of minus 2. And for neutral compounds, it is x plus 2 into minus 2 equals to 0. Then the x would be plus 4. So here the MnO2 can be represented as Mn4O2. The next is problem 7.4, that you are provided with the reaction, that is 2Cu2O plus Cu2S gives 6Cu plus SO2 is a redox reaction. You have to identify the species which are oxidized and reduced, and which one is acting as oxidant, that means oxidizing agent, and which one is acting as reductant, that means reducing agent. So now to solve this question, you are provided with some time over here, and after that particular time, I shall provide you the correct answer to this question. And your time starts now. Now let's look at the solution. So in this reaction, you can easily see the oxidation states that are mentioned. So if you look at the reaction, that is Cu2O plus Cu2S giving copper plus sulfur dioxide. So here in Cu2O, the oxidation number of copper is plus 2, while that of oxygen is minus 2. In Cu2S, the oxidation number of copper is plus 1, while in sulfur it is minus 2. In the products, the copper has an oxidation number of 0, while in sulfur dioxide, sulfur has an oxidation number of plus 4 and oxygen has an oxidation number of minus 2. Now let's consider the atom one by one. First consider the copper. So the copper is existing in plus 2 in Cu2O, and it is existing in 0 oxidation number in the product. While in the another reactant, the copper is existing in plus 1 and again it is 2,0. That means the copper has been oxidized because the oxidation number has been decreased. Here if you look at the copper, you will find out that the oxidation number decreases. So if the oxidation number is decreasing, that means the reduction has taken place over there. Okay. And now if we look at the oxygen, here it is minus 2, it is minus 2, the same thing. But here in the sulfur is existing in minus 2 oxidation state, but now it is plus 4. That means the oxidation number has been increased, and it has increased by 6 per atom. That means the sulfur is being oxidized while the copper has been reduced. Hence, we can say that Cu2O had sulfur in Cu2S to increase its oxidation number from -2 to +4. And because of this, the copper 1 is existing here as an oxidant. That means the sulfur has got reduced and the copper has lost its, and the copper has helped the sulfur in increasing its oxidation number from -2 to +4. That means here the copper has acted as oxidant. That means oxidizing agent. While the sulfur of Cu2S helps copper in both in Cu2S itself and Cu2O to decrease its oxidation number, and hence we can say that the sulfur of Cu2S is reductant. Therefore, it can be concluded that the copper is the oxidizing agent while the sulfur is the reducing agent in the given reaction. And we have concluded it by looking up to the oxidation number or by looking up to the change in the oxidation number of the chemical species that are being present in the reaction. So I hope this question is also clear to you. Now, the conclusion, or we can say that the summary, that the oxidation numbers represent the atomic charge states. Increase mean oxidation, decrease mean reduction, follows electron transfer rule. That means that if we consider that there is change in the oxidation number, and if the oxidation number is increasing, that means it is oxidation. If it is decreasing, that means it is reduction. Now the basic rules of oxidation number, that the free elements exist in zero oxidation state, oxygen usually in -2, but except the peroxides and superoxides, while hydrogen usually in +1, but with some exceptions that we have already studied. Then fluorine always in -1. The fractional oxidation number is the average of the oxidation state. The fractional oxidation number is the average of the oxidation states. And that fractional oxidation number can only be determined and more easily understand by the help of the structures for the compounds in which we are having a fractional oxidation number for a particular element. And if we compare the oxidation number for different elements, we can also find out that on the increasing of oxidation number, the acidic strength also increases. That on increasing the oxidation number, the acidic strength is also increasing, but it leads to a decrease in the basic strength. That means if there is an element which is having a higher oxidation number like +3, then going to +5, +6, so that +6 one would have the less basic character and more acidic character. So I hope all this is clear to you, that what are the oxidation numbers, stock notations, fractional oxidation number. So with this, I end my lecture here. Hope that you have understood each and every concept that we have studied in this lecture. So thank you so much, everyone.